pops in my head right now, and it's probably going to sound cliche at this point, but it has to do with my name, like
Okay.
of my business. And so my mom is the reason behind it, what I kind of came up with. And so she's always told me and my siblings, like, y'all got to be tough enough for stuff. Like that was
Mm.
her thing. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But she would always tell us that, like, if we had something bad going on, whether like we got hurt, sports, like whatever it was, we had a presentation and we were scared to do it and all that kind of stuff. It was always like, you got to be tough enough for stuff. And that advice has been with me since I've been in grade school up until my adult life. So I can say right now what I'm thinking on the top of my head is that's the best advice I've ever had if it's going to stick that long.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Armand Lindsay back again with another episode of Big Boss Talk, the podcast. Listen, I got another newbie on here, y'all. We're getting a lot of new people with the podcast game, and they've never hopped on the screen or whatever the case may have you, but we got somebody new, and I want y'all to welcome her. Be gentle. Hey, listen, when you listen, just know it's coming from an honest place. It's coming from a lot of hard work, dedication. Just looking over everything that she sent me is like she's been to school, y'all. So like she's been there. You know what I'm saying? Like me personally, all that school, I couldn't do it. But she's done it. It's people like her that keep the world running. And we just got another top tier guest. So let me get into it. All right. So I got Leah Ellis, age 27. She's a physical therapist. All right. College degree, University of South Carolina. Bachelors in exercise science. She also went to the Medical University of South Carolina. Doctorate of physical therapy. Years in the profession, she got 2 years. So listen, she hasn't hit like 5 years, a decade yet, right? But 2 years is enough to learn, to experience things that you like, you don't like, things that you might not didn't expect come with the gig, and things that you have to just learn on the fly. So I can't wait to get into it and kind of grill it down on some of these questions. But Leah, say what's up to the podcast.
Hello, everybody. I promise I try not to be so awkward, but I hope you can learn something from me today. And I hope I can be a resource for somebody out there in the world listening to this podcast today. So,
That's awesome.
hello.
Thank you. Thank you. We love the energy, but we know, like we talked about, we gotta go through two truths and a lie. All right. So my goal is to always get the lie. Hopefully you can throw me off. I'm really good at catching people in lies, I will say.
Okay.
I'm above 500. We've done almost 111 episodes, so we'll see. Let's go. Let's see what you got. All right.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So, first, I've only had one injury, which was my ankle injury. I was born in South Carolina, or my first car accident was with the mailbox.
Dang. Mailbox? Okay. So we got first injury was an ankle injury. Number 2, born in South Carolina.
Yes.
Number 3 is you got an accident with a mailbox.
Yeah, that was my first one.
Your first one was with a mailbox. Okay. So, dang, that's pretty tough. All right, cool. First accident with a mailbox. That sounds like it could be true. I ain't even gonna lie. My first accident was in a ditch, so I don't know. I mean, a mailbox is tough. All right, okay. Mailbox. You said ankle injury. I mean, you a physical therapist, man. I don't even know if you probably had first injury though. First injury. It might have been the first injury. I think that's true. Because you probably got a story about your rehab, and that's what made you want to get into physical therapy. Number 2, South Carolina. Now I see on the website, I saw Greenville, South Carolina. So, ooh, man, I'm gonna say the mailbox is a lie. Okay, I'm just gonna go with that one. I think those first 2 was true, just because the website, obviously, you in Greenville, South Carolina. Well, that's what it said on the website. And then number 1, first injury with that ankle. I mean, you're a physical therapist, so I just, what I'm saying, I don't know. So I'm gonna go with the last one is a lie.
So take your L because the lie is I was born in
Dang.
South Carolina.
No,
So
God,
I was born
dang.
in Florida. I was born in Florida,
Okay,
and I moved
okay,
to South Carolina when I was 5, and I moved to Charleston. So I'm originally from Charleston.
okay.
Um, and then me and my husband just recently moved up to Greenville about 2 years ago. So we've been here for a couple years now.
That's dope. Okay, so you from Florida? That's crazy, man. I
No,
took.
I really ran into that mailbox.
I'm a,
Bang.
I'm gonna hold my L, man. But how long have you guys, you and your husband, been in Greenville?
Since 2020. So we moved in the middle of the pandemic,
That's crazy.
like crazy people. But
Nice.
he was chasing his dream, and we here, so
Yeah.
it's working out.
Listen, that's awesome. I mean, shout out to him, man, for chasing the dream. Obviously, I asked it because I lived in Greenville for 6 years. So I went to school out there. So I did like 4 years in Greenville, and then I stayed an extra 2 years after college. And so I love Greenville. I love downtown Greenville. Fall for Greenville is always one of the best things. You know, it's packed, but it's awesome though. You see a lot of families and people out there. So it's awesome to live out in Greenville. Then the mailbox. How did you run into how we hit a mailbox?
So I think I was 15. I had just got my permit and I'm whipping my mama's minivan. So she trying to teach me how to drive. And she got so nervous because I was coming around a curve, I guess, too fast. And I literally, as I was coming, she was trying to grab the wheel. And so I like took my whole neighbor's mailbox off, like trying to come around that curve. And so I took their mailbox off, almost took ours off. So I had to go get a new mailbox and repaint their thing and everything. And it was nice. They was older people, but yeah,
Okay.
I took that thing all the way off.
That's crazy.
It was bad. So I don't even have my license yet. That was a permit that I had an accident in. But yeah,
it's
it was.
all it's all good. I think everybody got some type of story. So like I said, I went into a ditch, and so it was I was playing basketball, high school basketball. I had my license. I think I just got rid of my might have had a permit. I don't even know, but first time really just driving, and we had like a 6 a.m. practice, so we had to get up at like 5:30 just to get to the school. I'm tired, dead tired, and I don't know what happened. I just go to sleep. Next thing you know, I'm in the ditch right before practice. I'm like, golly, coach had to come scoop me and everything. So it's all good. But shout out to coach.
Shout out
But
to God.
yeah, that too. Shout out to God too. Uh, but and then you said the first one you had an ankle injury. Your first injury.
And that was actually has been my only injury, knock on wood.
Okay.
But I've only twisted my ankle 50 million times. And I have sprained my ankle, been out for a season before. I've never broken it, luckily. But I have recurrent ankle injuries. I still have ankle injuries when I walk in heels, like my ankle buckle all the time. But yeah, that's the only injury I've ever had. So I've been
awesome.
fortunate.
We
but I've
knocking
seen
on
a
wood.
lot of injuries.
Yeah, we knocking on wood for sure. So obviously you ankle injuries are the worst. Like just being an athlete, like when you sprain an ankle, it's like you can kind of feel like you can do it, but that one tweak, I mean, it could be something so small and you just tweak it and they put you down for another 2 weeks or so. So that's crazy. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move straight into the conversation. All right. So I like to ask some introductory questions. Okay. These introductory questions are just for one, I'll say, what is the best advice someone has ever given you?
Oh, wow. Oh, man, I should have prepared for this one. I don't know. So there's just so much stuff that goes through my head at one time. Like I can't really narrow it down to like one thing that I'm going through, but the one that pops in my head right now, and it's probably going to sound cliche at this point, but it has to do with my name, like of my business. And so my mom is the reason behind it, what I kind of came up with. And so she's always told me and my siblings, like, y'all got to be tough enough for stuff. Like that was her thing. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But she would always tell us that, like, if we had something bad going on, whether like we got hurt, sports, like whatever it was, we had a presentation and we were scared to do it and all that kind of stuff. It was always like, you got to be tough enough for stuff. And that advice has been with me since I've been in grade school up until my adult life. So I can say right now what I'm thinking on the top of my head is that's the best advice I've ever had if it's going to stick that long. But there has been many people and many mentors that have poured into me over time, and there's plenty of advice that they've given me, and I've taken. I just can't put anything in my head right now.
Nah, listen, that's perfect. I think the things that stick with you for that long, that long of a period of time has to be like the best advice ever given. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I think especially now when I guess I found out. Well, I see a lot of times where people may quit early than they should be, right? Like they'll go through stuff. It could be very tough, very hard, and they'll quit. They'll find a way to kind of like maybe give up. And I'm not saying you should never quit anything. I think if you really are unsatisfied or things are not going the way, you should let it go and obviously move on to the next thing. But you gotta be tough enough for stuff. And
Absolutely.
I think, and I love that saying. So I might have to take that. Listen, gotta be tough enough for stuff. And so I'm gonna use that. I think that's really dope. I think that goes beyond, just academia. I think that's life advice. I think that's just everyday advice. Like you really have to be tough. And I didn't realize it when you said it. I say it really hit me because now that I've gotten a little older, and you go through a lot of different things, especially dealing with people, friends you grow up with, how you kind of separate, how you kind of embark on life on your own path. I'm pretty sure like you came across so many situations where like I don't know how I'm gonna make it, God, but listen, I gotta be tough enough for some stuff.
Hello, you speaking the word, but you are absolutely right. Like, I mean, I think it's advice that can go across anything. Like I said, when we were younger, it was about a group project or it was about presenting in school.
Yeah.
Now it's about like, hey, can I make it through my work day? Or hey, am I a good enough mom today? Or am I a good enough wife? Whatever it may be. Like these are things that are real life. And so I think carrying that from the young days to now, I just love how it's just a versatile phrase.
Yeah.
Like it really has carried me through.
I love it. I love it. It makes me even more excited to get to the kind of closer to talk about Tough Enough PT. But my next question is, what's one hobby that you have that people may not know about, right? Something, I don't know. I like to say it could be geeky. It could be anything. Like I got like certain like my hobby is more like geeky. I like tech stuff, so I'm buying gadgets and things of that nature. So that's my gig or thing. What's something about you?
I think most people know this, but I love to bake. Like I don't like to cook, but I love to bake. And I haven't had to do a lot of it lately. But like when it came to like family events, like I'm making the cake, I'm making the cheesecake, the pies, like whatever that may be. But I need to get back into it. But when people get surprised, they're like, "Oh, you made this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did that." They're like, "Oh, that's good." So I think I need to do more of it. But yes, I love to bake. I think some people know that may know me, but I don't know if a lot of people know that.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. Baking. I mean, baking is way harder than cooking. I think baking seems a lot more scientific than cooking. You know what I mean? Like the measurements got to be on point. Like you can't move around. You don't be. My grandma used to always tell me, don't be running around the stove when that pound cake in there, because if my cake fall, I'm whooping you. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely, stay out the kitchen.
Yeah,
You know what
I'm saying? But she don't say that when we cooking collard greens, turkey neck. It's only when she baking. So I'm like, baking gotta be scientific. Like you gotta have the eggs on point. Yeah, it's an art for sure. So that's dope. Okay, cool. So tell me, I like to go from the beginning, right? What did Leah Ellis want to be growing up? Did you always want to go be in physical therapy? Like, what did you actually want to be?
I wanted to be a WNBA basketball player.
Oh.
I just knew I was going to be Lisa Leslie. I ain't even that tall. But I knew I was going to be Lisa Leslie. I was like, ooh, I'm going to play on the Sparks. I'm going to be balling. Like, I just knew I was going to be in the WNBA. I ain't nothing but 5'2", and I went to a high school that barely could win a championship game. Like, come on now.
So listen, I mean, it still could be possible. Don Staley wasn't that tall. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Wasn't that tall. But listen, I thought I was gonna be Shaq, but once I definitely not 7 foot, but I can't even dunk, so it was over for me. I had to learn how to shoot, stay around the perimeter, and that was about it. So that's cool. So you want to be in the WNBA. what changed? Obviously, I think just like most athletes, right? We go through the
We think we're gonna
humbling.
be athletes. Yeah.
We get humble, during our journey sometimes. Like I realized when I went to college, so I had the blessed to be able to play college ball, but I knew probably my after my sophomore year, I was like, man, NBA, NFL players are different. You know what I mean? Like they're physically built different. Like I got enough heart, I work super hard, but they're just different. And so I just knew I was like, I got to get my mind ready for what's after
Next.
football. You know what I mean? So when did that realization come for you? And then what did you want to change into?
I don't. Let's see. I think I kind of like when I started high school. So my freshman year of high school, I got into athletic training class,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like most athletes, they get into that class. They think it's about something, sports related. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, let's just do that. And I got into the class. My teacher was actually a Black male, and he was an older Black male. And he had worked for the Dolphins for some years. He worked at State. Like he did a lot in his career. And he was just very fun to work with. So I started that class. And when I started athletic training class, I started working with him after school. And so I would, do football games, go to all the football practices, whatever, do athletic training stuff. And so essentially I got to work with my friends. Like all my friends play football. I got to be on the field with them. I got to go to games for free. I got to be on the fields with them, like all that stuff. And it was fun. I did it all 4 years of my high school career. So I just knew when I got to USC, I was like, I'm going to be an athletic trainer. Like, this is it for me.
Yeah.
Got to USC freshman year, was in the program, and I wasn't feeling it. I was like, something, like, it just don't feel right. It feels hard. Like, I'm not enjoying it as much as I did when I was in high school. Like, I was telling my friend, me and her went together. I said, girl, I don't think I can do this. And so I went back and forth because you're supposed to apply for upper level like the nursing does.
Right.
And I was sitting on the application. I looked at it and I said, closed it and never finished it. Never finished the application. And so that's when I realized that when I was in high school, I really enjoyed the rehab aspect of athletic training because I liked being on the field, but I liked seeing people getting back to what they wanted to do. Gotcha. And so that's when I was like, I want to do physical therapy, not really athletic training. So my realization kind of didn't come till college, to be honest. Like, it's crazy to even think about that. It didn't come to my freshman year of college. Like, I was on the track, but I wasn't on that physical therapy track all the time. So I kind of just got to it in my own way.
That's dope. I mean, I think that obviously that journey is similar to a lot of people, right? It's weird to ask, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, like, what you want to do for the rest of your life, 50 years, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't realize how long of a time that really is. Like, I got into my career for the first year and I was like, what am I doing? Like, what's next? Because this ain't going to last for no 20-something years, you know what I mean? So I think I always, when we get stories like that, I like to preach the fact that it's okay to not know what you want to do. And you always have to go through something that you may not like to figure out what you do like. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about the difference between athletic training versus physical therapy, right? Or the rehab aspect, like name a few differences that you saw that, you preferred physical over the athletic training aspect.
So athletic training, and I don't want nobody quote me, but this is from my experience, but athletic training is more first responder kind of thing. So they're the ones that are on the field all the time. They take care of the athletes day in and day out. So typically, and this is my high school experience, but like typically what we would do is before games or after games, we're taping athletes. And it's not just the taping, but we're taping athletes, getting them ready for the games, and then we're on the field. So if something happens on the field, the athletic trainers are the first one there.
Right.
So they gotta know their shit. Like, they gotta know their stuff. Like making sure, like, are they safe to go back in? Like, they're making those first decisions and things like that. Athletic trainers work hard. Like, they work really, really hard. And I respect them 100%, but I just knew that was not my calling.
Got you.
That is okay for me. But as far as physical therapy, we become like the third person sometimes that will see the person. So let's say athletic trainer on the field. They're like, okay, yep, you tore your ACL. Come off the field. They're sending them to the doctor. The doctor sees them. They're like, yep, tore your ACL. You're probably going to have surgery. And then now they're going to have the surgery, and then they'll see the physical therapist as far as like getting them back from surgery, strength-wise, whatever it may be, and then putting them back out to where they want to be months later from there. So like usually
Gotcha.
PTs spend the most time with the people afterwards. And then sometimes they'll head back to the athletic trainer and kind of work together sometimes. But that's a typical scenario of how I can connect the two as far as ATs and PTs.
Yeah, I think a real life situation that obviously we just saw was with Damar Hamlin, the guy from Buffalo. If it wasn't for the athletic trainers providing CPR, he could have, really died. So when you said athletic trainers have to know their stuff, like they're the first responders, like that image popped straight into my head because I'm like, man, that young man, obviously he's like our age, but he could have easily died on that football field from a non-catastrophic hit, just due to cardiac arrest. But if it wasn't for those guys, right, the people that really was out there on standby, he might not would have made it. But now he's in the care of your career, right? Because he has to do some type of physical therapy. So everything works all in a circle, right? You just gotta choose, like you said, what is more comfortable for you or what you feel like fits your lifestyle. Because being an athletic trainer, you're always with the team. Traveling, taping. You got to carry all the equipment. Like I've seen athletic trainers. I got the most respect for athletic trainers. Like how many times I've walked in, I'm like, listen, I need some ice, heat, tape. Can you tape me up? Everything. I need it all. But going back to the physical therapy side, you learn a lot with your physical therapists, right? Like they are the ones that really push you beyond limits to get back. Like, this is where you want to be, so this is what we got to do. Because physical therapy, depending on the injury, is super hard, super difficult, and it's more mental than it is actual physical. So can you talk to me? I'm glad we went into this, right? So if I was an athlete, right? How do you know what set of exercises? How do you know the timetable on how to prep someone for their journey to come back? Because that's my whole thing. I'm like, all right, cool. Obviously, I just came off of ACL. How do you know how to get me back? Like, how do you know what exercises help me get back to where I need to be?
Working with Tammy. Yep. What do you do, Cole? And you ain't got no job, man.
So, and we're gonna do this one scenario, and then I'll go into something else, because PT is obviously more than just athletes, and I think I do need to put that out there too. That I work with the athletes, but I also work with everyday people too. Yeah. So this can be applied to anybody. Okay. But as far as like if we're doing athlete, they had a surgery. Typically, what you'll get from the doctor is a protocol. Like there's research out there. People do tons of research, tons of case studies, all that kind of stuff of what is appropriate for this person as far as like their progression in their rehab. Okay. And so you kind of take that knowledge and you apply what you know, and you're saying like, okay, well, if they're starting here, the first thing we got to get back, for me, we got to get your strength back. So we're starting on strength and mobility. You can't do nothing if your knee don't bend. So we got to get the mobility back, and we got to get that starter strength back. And so we kind of start with the basics, taking it back, like basically a crawling baby. So you're taking it back from there. Gotcha. As that person progresses, everybody's rehab process looks different. Some person may go way quicker, and they may be ready for all the harder stuff, all the balance, all the single leg stuff, like all that stuff quicker in their process. And somebody else, like you said, might mentally not be there, and they don't feel ready for that stuff. They don't feel strong enough, or they don't feel like they can trust themselves again, and that will set them back too. Yeah. So I think the main thing when I tell somebody on their first day is like, hey, day one, this is going to be a long process. Like, you got to be straight up with some people. And I think that's the one thing I had to learn as a PT is you got to be for real with somebody. If somebody says, how long is this going to take? And you tell them 2 weeks and it don't take 2 weeks, they're going to be pissed. They're going to be pissed. So like being honest with them, like telling people like, hey, if you're ACL rehab, this is going to be a year-long process. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it hurts. Like, yeah, you're going to be out of your sport, but taking the time to get back will make sure that you never come back here again. Yeah. And like kind of just like reassuring them, like it's worth that time. And that's just for anybody. I tell you, my older people who have total knee replacements, they are distraught because they're like 60, 50, 60, 70 years old trying to enjoy their retirement life. Yeah. And they just had surgery and they're like, how long is this going to take? And again, I tell them, you're going to be here. I mean, you're going to be rehabbing your 8 months, 9 months, a year. You may be with me for 3 to 4 months, but this is going to be a year-long process that you're going to be healing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, kind of telling them those kind of things. And people don't want to hear that, but then once they hear it, they kind of settle back and they don't feel like they have to rush anymore or something like that. So I think for PT, the first thing is to be honest and get them mentally prepared for this kind of thing. Because nobody wants to be in PT. Nobody comes there because they're like, let's go see what the physical therapist. Nobody's doing that. They're here. They're there because they're hurt. They're there because they want to get better, not because they chose to be there.
That's dope. I definitely understand like being honest with someone, because sometimes I also think, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is just me. I felt like maybe the doctor will say, like, because it happened to me, like, hey, you're done for the year. You're not gonna play anymore. But then I ended up coming back and ended up finishing like the last 4 or 5 games when the doctor was like, you're not coming back. So it's like, I don't know if sometimes they want you to give you that long time because they want you to understand, like, hey, it's not a rush. We understand it's gonna be a process, but if you come back early, that's a benefit for you. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, I didn't see it that way because I'm boohoo crying with my mom, like, this is all I got. This is my senior year. I gotta do something. So is that something that, also happens a lot? Like you tell a person, hey, it's gonna take 9 to 10 months, and that's it. That's all you do. But then you have patients that may finish or feel a lot better or move maybe 6 months, 7 months. Does that happen a lot?
I mean, like it's
different.
My favorite PT phrase and everyone's favorite PT phrase is, it depends.
Okay.
Because it's like you can coach somebody up, like just for anything. You can coach somebody up and you can be like, hey, this is how it's supposed to look, or hey, this is a typical thing, or whatever. And I can answer everybody's questions, but everyone's always going to be concerned. Like, I think that's the hard part I had to learn. And I've been doing this for 2 years. Like, that's it. Yeah. And I think the hardest part I had to learn is just having those tough conversations. Like, my goal is to make sure you can do what you want to do. My goal is not to stop you from what you want to do.
Right.
And I think the difference between like going to the doctor and going to a physical therapist, the doctors will be like, yep, nope, that's it. You're done. But a PT is going to be like, okay, well, let's find a way so that you can do what you want to do. It may not be in the same way, but can we modify it? Mm-hmm. Maybe you can still go back to the gym, but maybe you're not jumping anymore. Like, maybe we're doing softer step-ups. Like, I don't know. Like, I always find a way to make sure that I can modify it so people can still do what they want to do. Like, that's, at the end of the day, that's all they care about. Right. All they care about is like, can I go back and go see my child play? I don't know. Can I get on the floor with my grandchild or whatever it may be? And I think, again, having those honest conversations up front, I think was the hardest part I had to learn, because I used to be like, well, I don't want to tell somebody this. And they were like, oh, no, that's terrible. I can't do that. But I think on the back end, I'd rather not be lied to, because then I think that the trust and the rapport that I build, it won't last. Like, I think I've had more people be more grateful or grateful. I don't know. Yeah, be more grateful or honest for my honesty, because I'll tell them like, hey, like, this is going to take a long time versus, and they've been with me for 4 or 5 months and they're like, I didn't see it at first, but I see it now. And I thank you for, taking the time and being honest with me. Cause I mean, that's all they want. And then they want somebody to talk to. Gotcha. That's it.
So I guess because you're in this industry, you've been in the industry for 2 years now, what's a stereotype that you may used to hear about physical therapy that's actually not true?
Pain and torture. You ever heard that before?
Pain and torture?
Yeah, people used to say, what does PT stand for? Pain and torture.
Oh, pain. Nah, I've never heard that.
They're like, I heard PT stands for pain and torture. That's what they always come in there and say, y'all gonna hurt me today. Y'all gonna do this and that today. It is so annoying. Because why you come if you think I'm gonna hurt you? Like, come on. So I think a lot of people just think that we bring people in, and I think this is happening a lot now too, since a whole nother beast. But a lot of people just think like, you go to PT, you ride the bike for 10 minutes, you do like a couple exercises, and then you go home.
Right.
And I think that's becoming a big thing for PTs. And I think a lot more PTs are trying to go into being more honed in on actually getting people better, like solving problems of what's going on. And so that pain and torture, or that just riding the bike, or PT's just the gym.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like, because we are educated professionals. We have a lot of knowledge that we can give to people and share with people and help them live healthier lives if they just use it the appropriate way.
Gotcha. And so how do you, because I know this has to be ever changing. Like, I mean, the concepts, the things that you might have done in the past to help rehabilitate someone, it changes all the time. Like, it's new knowledge, new case studies coming out. You know, is there something that you have to do, something you have to read every year, a test you have to take to kind of re-up on the knowledge? Because I'm just like, even just when you look at athletic training, like the amount of the personal training that these athletes get, top professionals get, everything's changed. Like, it's more focused. It's more focused on certain movements, or like focused on certain muscle groups. Like, where, you know, you're not working out. You know, there's no reason to put 800 pounds on your back anymore. It's like, what are you actually going to use on the field or in your profession? So with the physical therapist, how do you maintain or continue to re-innovate, you know, your process and your knowledge?
So technically, as a license, for our license, we're supposed to get like 30 like CEUs, so like continuing education credits or whatever that means. So it's required of us to do that, which I think is really good, because you go to conferences. So you go to conferences, you learn from presentations, you read up on journals, so you can get some knowledge from journals. For my job, they do like lunch and learns. So like people who have certifications or whatever they be, they'll come and they'll teach you something. They're like, hey, this is what we've been doing in this. Let's teach you how I've been doing this before. We also are required to do like monthly lessons or whatever. So I got to log in and I got to read the lesson. I got to take a test, and I got to do like a physical or an oral exam or whatever. So we're constantly being taught. We're constantly being learned. We're constantly being challenged. But the main thing is reading that stuff and attending conferences and learning from other people, and be willing to still be a sponge. And I think that's what a lot of older people or older PTs just didn't want to do. Like, they just want to be stuck in their ways. And there is so much out there. I mean, things are changing. Technology is changing. The way surgeries are being done is changing. Like, it is so much out there that you can do. So I think getting certifications, or you don't have to get certifications, but getting certifications, getting those CEUs, going to those conferences, meeting new people and learning new things. That's how you stay up on yourself. And then you kind of take what you do, and then you're like, okay, I like this. I can make my own thing with this.
Got it.
Like that kind of stuff.
Okay. That's dope. And what is and I'm asking these questions as if I'm trying to be a kid that may want to get into this career field. So what do you enjoy most about physical therapy? But what is something that I'm not gonna say, I get I don't even know what to say, not hate, but maybe dislike about being a physical therapist? Because a lot of times when people talk about careers, they only highlight the good stuff, right? They like what they love to do, like what makes them go into work every day, which is cool, you know, to have that passion, right? I can draw to your passion. I can be passionate about helping other people and things of that nature. And I may think I want to be a physical therapist, but when I get in there, there's probably something that I did not know that I did not want to handle or work with. So I need to, you know what I'm saying? Like, prepare them for what it actually is in the workforce. So if you can give me those two things, that'll be great.
So what I love about it is, I think I said this from the beginning, but I shouldn't say it like that. I enjoy seeing people at their worst. I don't want to say it like that, but like from where they're worst, and like kind of just seeing them, like, I know they're going to get better. And I see the vision and they don't see it quite yet. And then seeing them at the end, and like they're way better than what they were from the beginning. And their face, their expressions, the way they walk in, the way they talk, and all that stuff changes like over that time. Like, that is my favorite thing. That warms my heart. I look at them and I'm like, y'all are not the same person that you used to be. I don't know if you know, but I know. I know this kind of stuff. And so that's my favorite thing, going from the worst to the best, whatever it may be, them just telling me, like, coming in like, oh my God, let me show you what I did with my grandchild. Like, I love being a part of other people's lives. Like,
that's awesome.
That's just fun for me. But it also goes for one of the things that I don't like, because it becomes very draining being a part of people's lives.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, even at work now, like I see patients, I see one patient every 45 minutes, but it's every 45 minutes. Like I don't have a time to be like, okay, let me debrief for a second and then come back out to the next person. Like I'm constantly just interacting with people
Right.
all. And sometimes that's tough on me because when I come home, I don't want to talk to nobody.
Right,
like,
right.
like I can't do that because I come home, I have a child. Like I need to interact with my child or whatever.
Right.
But sometimes I'll just put my phone down and or I'll play my phone game or whatever because I just want to talk to nobody because I've already talked to 10 people today.
Right, right.
That's had a conversation. So that is the downside of it too. It does become draining in that aspect of it. But I think you kind of learn to adapt to it and try to figure out like, how can I prioritize myself or whatever, prioritize a debrief for myself and all that kind of stuff so that I can continue to give because that is your passion at the end of the day.
Dope. I like it. So now I want to go to your I would say it's like your project, your baby. You know, I always think when people create something of their own, it's definitely a baby because you don't want anybody to really touch it until you know it's right, you know. And then even when it's right, it's hard to say, all right, here you can help me right here. But if you don't do it how I like it, you getting cut.
Don't touch it.
So what is how did Tough Enough PT come about? Where did that idea come from? Like, is it like your own practice? Is that what that pretty much is, or like, just tell me all about it.
So if you ask any of my PT school classmates, I always told them I would never have my own clinic. I said, I will never do that. That is dumb. I will work for somebody. I will let them bring me to pay. I always said that. I said, I would never do that.
Yeah.
And I obviously got to working and I was like, ain't no way I can do this. like how you said, like you get to work and you realize like, nah, this ain't what it was. Like this ain't what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So when I first started working, and this is a big thing that, I mean, people I don't care about, but insurance companies and healthcare is a big issue in the United States. Like it is huge. Money is being funneled into things that don't need to be funneled in, and places like PTs don't get reimbursed the way they're supposed to. And so healthcare is not what it should be in this United States, point blank period. Not getting political, but that's just what it is.
For sure.
And so I've noticed that like in the clinic, like people are denied things. People don't have the funds to go to PT because they're like, well, I can't afford this visit every week, or I can't afford to pay this every week or something like that. Certain people don't have access to it because they can't drive. They can't get there. It's too far, like whatever it may be. Like, it's just a whole bunch of stuff. And so I also realized that the kind of PT that I want to practice, I don't need to have insurance companies to do it. So I was like, I don't need that. I was like, I don't need that. Because at the end of the day, my passion in PT, and it has always been my passion, is I want to bridge the gap between traditional rehab and your 100% return. Whether it may be you're 10 and you're wanting to get back to sports, or you're 50 and you want to get back to your sport. Doesn't matter the age, but bridging that gap, because insurance companies are going to cut people off for traditional rehab. They're going to be like, okay, well, you got your range of motion, you got your strength, we ain't paying no more.
Right.
They're going to cut you off. They're going to cut you off. And then you're going to get to that. Then people are like, okay, well, I can go to the gym. But they're like, man, I just don't feel right yet. Like they don't feel 100% right.
Yeah.
And so having that middleman, or that bridging that gap to somebody that can be like, okay, well, you are a PT, but you can be a performance specialist. Let's put those together and let's see if we can get you back to where you want to go.
Right.
So that's where my passion lies. And you just can't do that in the traditional clinic setting. Okay. It's not a thing. I mean, a lot of people now have a lot of practices that do this kind of stuff where they bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And it's all private practice. Everyone's private. Like everyone's cash based or whatever it may be. And so that's what I kind of want to start doing. Like, I don't know. I just want to do it. Like, I'm not giving that up. Like, that's something I want to do. I'm going to do it. So I started, well, the name came, obviously we talked about, the name came from my mom. And that's how I thought about it. I've been thinking about it for a while. And I was like, we're going to do physical therapy. And I just said, and performance. Notice it's not sports performance because I'm not biased to just young I'm 27. I ain't getting no younger, but there's people out there that are 40, 50 that are, my CrossFit coach about 70 and he's still doing pull-ups and bench pressing. So there's people out there that are of older ages that are still doing a lot of active things and they still need the help as well. And maybe they just want a quick 1 or 2 session just to get some guidance or whatever it may be.
Right.
So I want to be that resource. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
Helping out the active population.
Man, that's huge. Okay, so we trying to bridge the gap. So you talked about there is a lot of people that's doing it. So again, I don't know, I always just relate it back to sports, but there's specific gyms, like when people open up their own gyms, they always bring in someone like yourself that focuses on performance, right? The nuances of, you just not right, because you talked about how when you go to PT, the normal PT is like, as long as you got your range of motion and we get a little bit of your strength back, okay, cool. From there, we're going to dump you off to the curve. You got to keep doing these exercises on your own while you at home, knowing people not going to do those exact exercises while they're at home and they kind of fall off, and then it weakens their muscles. So then they go out there and try to they re-injure it again. It's like it's like a whole winding process. I always said that, like you said, not to get too political, but just healthcare in general is terrible, and how it works in the United States is bad. But people like you, I think, are so important because there are people that want to not necessarily go back and play a sport, but just to have the confidence to say, hey, I can go out here and hoop, or I can go out here and play tennis. Like I realized as I got older, it's like when you're young, you don't really care about much, right? You kind of like a daredevil. But when you start getting older and things take a little longer to recover and you trying to stretch every now and again, like it's like, nah, I need some help. Like I want to work out specific muscles to make sure that obviously I'm good on my daily activity, but when I go out here on this court, I feel comfortable to play at 100%. And so obviously you're just now getting the groundwork and everything going, but what are some of the steps that you are going to have to take to get everything up and running? Because again, someone could be just like you. I'm not doing a private practice. I'm not doing it. But then they see the ugly side of things, and then they're like, I can be so much better. You know what I mean? I can provide people with so much better care than just being a part of the system, right? Because you're breaking the system. And so what are some of those steps that you're going to have to take to get Tough Enough up and running?
I mean, first things first, like like anything, you got to build a clientele. Like, I think that's the hardest part. And I think that's the hardest part about being a young PT is like, people will probably look at me like, she don't know anything. Like, well, hell, people who've been practicing for 40 years probably don't know the things I know. Like, I think we all have our own kind of knowledge base. So that's the hard part. But I think my confidence is what is going to drive me to let people know, like, hey, I do know what I'm talking about. So I think that's the first thing. And then getting that practice in and letting people know, like, hey, this stuff really works. I think selling PT is the hardest part, or selling performance is the hardest part, because you'll tell people they need it, but if they don't see results, they don't care. Like, so like that, I think that's the first part. And I think after that, it's just more so the business end of it. I think we don't get taught in PT school. We don't. And I don't know a whole bunch. And I've been leaning on a lot of people just about the business aspect, like learning how to just, I don't know, like file taxes and stuff.
That's huge.
But like, that's the hardest part. If you're going to be self-employed, like it does become a business. So you also have to learn how to run your own business and how to make sure you're not getting sued by the next person or whatever it may be. You have all your lights working, your toilets working. Like, you got to keep that kind of stuff up too. And that's the stuff that I kind of had an idea, but I didn't really know
until you get into it.
So that's the stuff I'm kind of on the setback with, because like I have the PT stuff, I got the knowledge, I know what to do there,
right.
But I don't have the business mindset. So that's why it's kind of been like a hard process, because I'm not full into it, because I got to be 2 people, and right now I'm only
one
here.
Person,
and a half.
Exactly. And when we talk about PT doing sport, I mean just performance in general. You said this is all kind of like cash-based business. Do you partner with any insurances? Is that like a whole thing, or is it just,
That's not my goal.
I
really, I think it would be too much work on my end. Again, the business aspect of it. trying to partner with insurances, trying to be reimbursed for services, like being told, they don't think PTs are performance professionals. That's not something they're going to pay for in insurance. Then, they're not going to pay for it. Like, they're not going to pay for it. So like, I would be wasting my time. Okay. But I think, like you said, I think it's convincing people that paying up front or paying out of pocket for this kind of service is better than going for the traditional kind of way. I think that's also like a hard part too, is just convincing people that it's good for them versus like, I'm just here to take your money. That's not my goal. Gotcha. That's not my goal. I don't need to do this for money. Like I want to make a living. Like I do want to support something, my little shoe habit. I don't know. Yeah. But like, that's not the goal. Like I want to make sure that people understand like their body, their temple, they can do what they want to do, whether they're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. Like that's the stuff that I care about. And I can't have that passion and work with insurance companies. I just can't do that.
That's dope. I hope, man, I'm glad I got to sit down with you, because I hope when people watch this and they see this, like there's somebody that may reach out and just say, hey, I'm feeling a little weak, a little weak when I'm out there on the court. I might need something, you know what I mean? So I think it's good to know who's doing this type of work, because when you know who's doing this type of work, and when you have an issue, that person kind of comes to your brain and just be like, let me see what they talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's always good, just any type of word of mouth, anything that can help someone else is always good. My last question I would say I got two more questions before we go, because I know we tailing off. I want to be transparent with the people that want to get into physical therapy. You have a doctorate, right? Let's take off the doctorate. Let's just say you have your 4-year degree. What is the average salary range for someone that is stepping into physical therapy without a doctorate? Because a lot of times people choose, I would say that we choose careers like this because obviously, one, we tell ourselves we want to help people, but there's another motive. Like, don't get it twisted. We all want to get paid. You know what I'm saying? The money. So it's like, I can get paid good as well too. So what is, for someone fresh out of college, no experience, what should their mindset be on where the market is at for entry level physical therapy?
Jerry, show me the money! Jerry, you better yell! Show me the money!
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the foot there, but like for PT, there's no way you can be a physical therapist without going to PT school. So if you got a 4-year degree, you can be on the low end. You don't even have to have a degree for this one, but the PT tech, but you have to have either a PT degree or you have to go to PTA school. Got it. So people can come straight out of high school and go to PTA school. That's 2 year. Okay. So that's usually at the local community college. That's 2 year, and you could be a PTA without even having to go to PT school. A lot of people like that option. One, you don't have to go to college. Like 2 years, you got a career, like you good to go. And then you still get to do the same work as a PT. You don't have to worry about all the heavy stuff. Like PTA's got a little bit easier, not gonna lie, because they don't have to worry about like e-files and all that kind of stuff. But it's still a very rewarding career. Like you still get to do about the same things that PTs do. But for PT, you do have to go to PT school. It's 3 years. After doing a 4-year degree, and they're all doctorate programs. Okay. So I don't think there's anything that's a master's program. So putting that out there, you got to do that. You got to do it. And then the sad part about it is like you do all that work and PTs get paid nothing at all for that doctorate. So a lot of people will, it depends on your practice. So like I do outpatient orthopedics. You've got home health, you got inpatient, you got skilled nursing facilities, you've got assisted living, but like there's so many different avenues of PT. So depending on where you're going, I have a friend that works home health and he makes close to 80K starting out. And then I have people who went into outpatient orthopedics and they're making like 55. So like the starting range is very large, but it's also very low for somebody who has a doctorate degree. Like, let's be real. That's
definitely low.
It's very low.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So when I tell you PTs they ain't in it for the money. they're getting paid. They're not getting paid a lot.
Gotcha.
They're getting paid. They're doing their job because they love to do it. And so, and we get overworked a lot. So I think like knowing that too is kind of, and I don't want to deter anyone away because it's a great profession. It really is, but it's a lot of hard work. And I hope by the time that somebody who may be in high school is getting into this profession, things will change by then, and that's my hope. And that we do get paid like we're supposed to get paid. But yeah, right now, looking for a doctorate degree, we're getting paid.
All right. I mean, listen, I always want to explain. I never asked that question to get personal. I always ask it just because I know where my mindset was at when I graduated. I was like, okay, I'm graduated. I'm ready to get this bread. I know I'm gonna at least be going in and making at least 80. You know what I'm saying? 80K off the rip. You know what I'm saying? I done went to school for 4 years. I deserve that.
Hello.
But it didn't. But it didn't work like that. You know what I mean? Like I started off. I can't even remember my first one. First job was probably like 55. But then you work your way up. And you put in the work and you grind. You stick with it. Obviously, you may not stay in that same. It could be location based, right? It could be the company based. So like you got all these things factor in like what you can pay. But I also believe that if we know what the possibility is, then you can go in and bargain with people and say, hey, I want this because of X, Y, and Z. So like it always resets the market for the next person. And so I appreciate the ranges of where they can start, because it gives you an idea like, hey, depending on where you start, you got to understand, are you going in for the money aspect? Are you making bad decisions thinking like you're going to make this amount of money, but then you don't end up making this amount of money? Like that happens. Like I've seen people make financial decisions based off what they thought they was going to get. Like you can't.
That call.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't do that. And I just want to put that out there. But what do you want your? This is the last question. What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done? Once you retire or whatever the case may be, once you've employed over 100 people, 100,000 people, you got multiple locations. After you've done all that, what's the legacy gonna be?
Man, that's a hard hitter like there. I ain't gonna lie, I don't think I've ever thought about that before. Like, I think most people think about that all the time. I don't think I've thought about that before. But I think my legacy for me, and think about what I want to do with my passion is bringing back to people to what they love. Like at the end of the day, like that's all I care about. Like I see my dad, my mom, like all them, they've been active their whole lives. Like that's stuff they want to do. And now that they have a grandchild, like they enjoy playing with their grandchild. And I think awesome. Like knowing that we can get back to people to what they love, regardless of what it may be or how it may do, like I just want that to always be the underlying thing. The underlying thing, like how people should be thinking is like, it's not about me. It's not about what I want to do for that person. It's not about what I think is good for that person. But if that person told me that they want to do this and that's all they care about, then we should care about that too. And so I think taking that passion, feeling that into other people and letting them think that about other people too. It's just people should just care about people. Like, why don't we care about each other?
Yeah, selfish, man. We selfish out here.
I don't know if that's much of a legacy to think about, but I think that's just kind of like what I want to feel into people, and people who come after me is like, it's a tough world. It's a tough profession. It's like, there's always gonna be something you don't like. Mm-hmm. And if we can find something that we can love about it and feel that into the next person and into our patients, into the person, like that's going to go into somebody else, and that's going to go into somebody else. And they're going to love on the next person and care for the next person at the end of the day, whether it may be like you touch one life and you may touch 50 from that. Yeah. So, that's, I just caring about people, genuinely caring about people is just all I care about.
Yeah, that's super dope. I that's a legacy in itself. I think, what you're hitting on is just, you want to be remembered for how you make people feel. You know what I mean? Like, I think at the end of the day, like, that's what everybody wants to, like, when you come in contact with Leah or Armand or whoever the case may be, like, how did that person make you feel? Like, how are you going to be remembered? So I think, obviously being able to help somebody at their worst time and building them back up to be able to get them doing what they set out to do, they're gonna remember you forever. So you in the right career path, you're doing the right thing. Like I said, when I saw Tough Enough performance, I was like, I gotta get that on the podcast, because I think that's something I haven't had on here before. I think it's something bold, it's something courageous that you could do to start your own private practice. And I just hope nothing but success for you and your husband and your family down there in Greenville. I hope you guys live it to the fullest. And if you need anything, as far as like, obviously when your page starts rolling, you start getting the videos together, you know, we gonna be sharing. Like I always tell people, this is not transactional. You know, this is I don't want it to feel transactional. I want it to feel like, hey, you got a partner or a relationship with someone else that's trying to build something, and we can just collab and share things and promote one another. You know, because that's what it's all about, building that circle and promoting. So thank you. I'm gonna let you.
Thank you.
Listen, I hope you had fun. Hopefully it wasn't too bad for the first pod.
It wasn't bad. I wasn't that nervous. My heart only beat it for like a couple, and then I was like, all right, we're good. We're good.
Good.
It was good conversation. So you're good at this. This is your niche. So you're really good at this. So thank you for having me on, for sure.
Thank you. And then we just need 2 recommendations. 2 people that you think will fit the mold of the podcast. 2 people that we could possibly get on this show. That, you know, it fits what we're trying to do over here. Do you have anybody in mind? If you don't, it's okay. You can obviously send the IG profile to me, and then I'll reach out to them. But do you have anybody off the top of your head?
I mean, I have 2 people. My husband just said one, but she's always busy. But one of my line sisters, Kara, she's a pillar in her community. I don't know but she's from Georgetown. She's been working hard she had a scholarship fund that she was working with kids in Georgetown, but she's a pillar in her community, her and her soon to be husband.
Okay.
Or if this podcast comes out after that, they'll be married.
Okay.
But they're 2 very good people in the education community. So those are 2 people right there. I had a lot of people who are starting businesses.
Yeah, that's dope. So this is what we'll do. I like that recommendation. I'm definitely gonna reach out. All I ask is whoever you think fits the mold, just send them to my Instagram, and then I'll reach out to them. But then all I ask is for you to just say, hey, I just sat down on the podcast, Big Boss Talk. He's probably gonna reach out to you. You can say yes or no. He doesn't really care, but he's gonna reach out to you. I mean, I damn near touched almost all of USC. I'm close. I'm coming close. So I'm coming for Black USC. So y'all be prepared. Y'all old heads, y'all get ready, man. Y'all get ready. So that's pretty cool.
I know. Well, your wife went to USC. I mean, we roomed together.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So hold up, what? Say that again.
Yeah, me and Maya, we roomed together our senior year.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, I felt like I knew that, but it didn't click until you said it. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, cool. So yeah, we all of USC, man. Y'all just get ready, get prepared. But enjoy your time with your family. I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you.
Appreciate you so much. Y'all have a wonderful night. And if you ever need anything, just feel free to holler. Let us know. And we'll even come back for a second time. Hey,
I might be ready next time.
Let's do. You were ready this time, but I'm gonna let you guys go. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.